Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perpetual Chess. We have a return guest that I am very excited to chat with. She has a great recent development to her chess story that I am excited to discuss. But first, as always, wanted to give thanks to our sponsors, Chessable.com. Our guest has a very highly reviewed Chessable course that we will be discussing in due time. So without further ado, I would like to introduce her. She is a former youth champion both in Armenia and the US, where she moved as an adolescent. She's one of the top women players in the country, a frequent participant in the U.S. Women's Championship. She came in tied for first in 2005. She'll be competing again this year in a couple weeks, actually, from when we're recording this, September 24th. She's also a columnist for Chess Life magazine and a Chessable author, as we said, of Endgame Studies, Solve to Evolve. But most importantly, she just had a career breakthrough recently in Budapest. She earned her final IM norm at age 37, 15 years after her first one. She also, in the same tournament, crossed the rating threshold, so she will be getting the IM title. For good measure, that tournament also netted her her first GM norm, and her recent results have catapulted her to the number 30 ranked woman player in the world, also a career best, once again at age 37. So, like any longtime chess player, our guest has been through her share of ups and downs, been open about that. We even talked about it back in 2021. So without further ado, I would like to congratulate and welcome back to the podcast, Tatev Abrahamyan. Welcome, Tatev.
Thank you. Thank you. What an introduction. I should set it as my alarm so I wake up to this every day.
All right. Yeah, but you don't sound that excited.
No, I'm very excited.
Okay, great. Well, so you've told your story in Chess Life magazine. You had kind of a rough spell, as we all will from time to time. Your rating went from the high 2300s to dipping below 2300. And you wrote as the lead in your August 2025 Chess Life article, I was ready to swear off chess. And then you got this invite to the American Cup, which you weren't even sure if you were going to get due to your rating. But my question, Tatev, is we all say we're going to swear off chess, but were you really close or just despondent?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, right? Because I think it's a very common feeling. I want to swear off chess. Like, I don't want to play this game anymore. That was a very bad period for me in my life, just personally also, not just chess-wise. I was feeling very unhappy just in general and really unhappy playing chess. I ended the US Championship in a really tough way. I lost my last 3 games, which was really demoralizing. And then I played in the St. Louis Masters, but okay, result-wise, I think I broke even, maybe gained a few points. But I had some really tough games, and at some point I was playing these games, and I just felt like I don't even want to be here. Like I'm just done with these games. Yeah, at that point, I was just so unhappy with chess. Every time I went to a tournament, okay, I shouldn't say every time, but so many games I would go to a game, and I just felt like I just actually don't want to be here. I don't want to play. But chess is an addiction, so eventually you go back to it.
Yep, you sure do. So when you got the invite, did that spur you to get back to work, studying wise?
I think at some point during St. Louis Master, I think I told to someone, I said, like, even if I get American Cup, I'm actually going to decline. Like, I just don't want to play anymore. But then, some time passed, and I was like, okay, now American Cup is a great tournament, and it's like has a big prize fund, so it'd be ridiculous not to play. And I actually started thinking, what if I'm not invited? And the thought of not being invited started to make me upset. And yeah, I got my invitation sometimes in January, and it was a really busy period for me because I think I wrote about this in Chess Live because I was GM in resident in St. Louis, which means you have this weekly schedule, you're teaching classes, you're doing streams, you're doing game analysis. It's pretty time consuming, like takes a lot of time. I was also starting to record lessons for this company that I used to work for, and now I'm doing lessons for them, Chess Hub. So there was some learning curve of they had a new software to make lessons. So, there was some learning curve of learning how to do this, and that was also time consuming. And then at some point, I got an email from Chessable, oh, we want you to record your course. And then I said, no, I have a tournament coming up. And they said, yeah, we know and we want you to do it before your tournament. So I just had so many things going on. It was so overwhelming. But when I scheduled this GM in Res, because you schedule it with the club, they give you time slots available and you choose one. I kind of figured American Cup will be after. I'll have some time to prepare. So yeah, I was like during that time I was trying to do as much work as possible. But when I did have free time, I even took a week off from everything just so I could focus on the tournament.
Yeah, makes sense. And obviously, with all the duties you described, I mean, stuff like being the GM in residence, you're giving lessons, you're interacting with people there at the St. Louis Chess Club, and your Solve to Evolve course for Chessable. It's obviously, you're presenting these elegant endgame studies, so it is chess related, but still, probably doesn't feel like personal time for you. So when you get that week to finally focus on what you need to do, I'm guessing just due to the nature of a competitive tournament like the American Cup, you probably had to focus on openings?
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of openings more because also at the beginning of the month, you know who you're playing. You're playing a mini match. So I knew I was going to play Anna. I think I knew maybe before because it's based on a rating list. So you kind of predict, how people are doing, where you're going to end up. So on March 1st, the rating list came out. I actually forgot when the American Cup started, like March 8th, March 10. So yeah, I knew who I was going to play and I played Anna many times. So it's choosing what opening I want to play and just playing also a lot of training games just to get into tournament mode. Because at that point, it was 3 months since my last classical tournament and 2 months since the World Rapid and Blitz. So a lot of opening work and getting into shape.
So when you play a training game, do you use a specific opening? And I'm also curious what time control you play.
Usually I play Blitz, and yeah, depends on the tournament. So because I was preparing against Anna, and I was preparing the King's Indian, and I hadn't played the King's Indian for many years, so we were playing a lot of Blitz games in the kid. And whatever it is that I prepared against her with white. So we just for that specific tournament, yeah. But for other tournaments, if you're doing more general prep, then you just kind of play whatever. There's a lot of emphasis on opening work these days. So I think in general, when people play training games, they do put a lot of emphasis on the specific openings.
And so it sounds like you, as you mentioned, primarily focused on Anna Zatansky because she's going to be your first round opponent. And then you figured you can just kind of prepare as you go from there.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the general bracket, right? Because they give you a bracket. So, your first round opponent, and then you look at what bracket you're in. And okay, you assume that the favorites are going to win. And I think Anna and I were numbers 4 and 5. So it was like, again, 4 and 5, that's a toss up, right? So, yeah, you kind of just look at the general bracket. You kind of figure which way it can go. But yeah, outside of that, I wasn't doing any specific prep. I was just focused on Anna.
Okay. And spoiler for listeners, although we sort of alluded to it, but Tatev ended up finishing in second. And as she mentioned, big prizes. She won $30,000, the biggest prize of her career. So an amazing turnaround from the depths of despair just months before. And you wrote in Chess Life about uh, as having a routine with I am Kostya Kavutskiy of Chess Dojo. You wrote, Kostya and I continued our routine throughout the tournament. Kostya would come over before the round. We would solve a couple of positions and review some lines. The routine was both helpful and comforting, and I started to get my confidence back. Is that something you've often done in tournaments? Just solve a little bit as just a way to sharpen up?
Yeah, this is something that I used to do with my former coach, Josh Friedel. We used to work together, I don't know, like 10 years ago or something. For a number of years, we worked together, and he would help me during US Championship in particular. Like, he really instilled this habit in me that before starting prep, solve a puzzle and get your brain working. And I actually do really like to do this because once you start prepping and you're looking through lines, you just sometimes it's just easy to kind of scroll through your opening prep and something and not think deeply. But when you solve a puzzle and you start thinking about chess, I think puts you in a really good mindset.
So you're gonna stick with it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I try to do this every tournament. When I was
Okay.
traveling in Europe, I had a book with me. I was trying to solve. I was solving every day, and also gives you confidence. You solve something and you get it right, and you feel good. You're like, okay, my brain is working. I'm actually thinking about chess. So I'm in a good mindset.
And where do you get the puzzles?
I have different books for the European tournament. I took Shanklin's book with me, but okay, there's so many puzzles from anywhere. It doesn't have to be anything specific. You can do middle game sometimes, like even solving studies. I think during American Cup, I was using Agard's what is it called? Endgame Labyrinths, I think.
Right.
I was doing some studies from there. I mean, not super practical. Some of them, some of them are kind of. Actually, no, that's not true. His book is very practical. But some of the studies are more on the creative side, right? So it's not applicable to your game so much, but still being able to calculate and visualize and be creative, I think it's a very good habit to have.
Yeah, good advice there. And you're in the fortunate position where more often than not, your tournaments are one game a day, but I know you recently played in Southern California where you grew up. And so when you do end up in those two game a day tournaments, do you still maintain that routine or do you try to rest more?
Oh, no, I don't think there's time during those tournaments. So Southern California Open, I mean, my tournament I think turned out to be one round a day. So the tournament was organized by my longtime coach Armin Abrahamyan, so I really wanted to be there, and it was also my longtime hometown of Glendale, so I really wanted to be there and support him and be part of the tournament. But I was also just coming back from my European trip, and I was so jet lagged. I arrived in California on Wednesday. Tournament was starting on Saturday, so I just took 2 bites because I was
Yeah.
like, "There's no way I can play so much chess after such a long trip." But no, I don't think during 2 rounds a day I have time. Sometimes I also like to play a blitz game before my rounds. Again, like you're thinking, you're kind of getting into game mode. I think maybe I was trying to do this when I was in California, but when I played in the National Open, I don't think I was doing this. In general, I've been trying to avoid 2 rounds a day. I find it really rough and it's a very tough lifestyle, which is why I like to play in Europe because I do
Yeah.
enjoy the lifestyle the one round a game tournaments provide.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So you have this amazing result. You end up in the final and come in second. As you looked back at that tournament before we get to your next triumph in Budapest, did you feel like there were any conclusions to be drawn about why your results turned around?
Any conclusions? Well, I was putting in some work, but like pretty consistent work, especially before the tournament. But like I didn't get too excited after. Okay, first of all, if someone told me before the start of the tournament that I would finish second, I would be thrilled, right? Like I wouldn't even think about how I got there. I was like, I'll
Right.
take it. Second place, okay. Like winning any tournament is difficult. Second place, so much money, it's incredible. I had a lot of low points at the American Cup too. There's a game against Alice I didn't convert, and that really kind of broke me during the tournament. But when you don't play a lot of chess and you're not really a professional, which I don't know if I can call myself one, but I don't play a lot of tournaments. Like you get stuck in this cycle where you play a tournament and because you have a lot of chess knowledge and you just know a lot of chess and all this knowledge can carry you. So you have a good tournament and then it gives you this feeling that like, oh, I can actually play chess well, and you get very excited and then you play, but you don't really study a lot, right? You're not consistently working, you're not consistently playing, so you're not truly a professional. So then life happens, maybe you take some time off and you're like, okay, I'm going to play again. And then the reality hits that you're not actually a professional. And then you start losing all your games. You have a bad tournament. And then you're like, so this is what it's like to actually constantly play chess or, be in like tournaments. And then you go and you sulk, you take some time off, and then this addiction comes back, you play again, maybe some average results, every now and then you have your good result, and again, this gives you hope, and then you're just in this consistent cycle. So, yeah, I mean, I was doing some work and I was, I think, more dedicated to it, but I have other periods when I was dedicated to chess too. But I just didn't think this is some kind of a reflection that I had a breakthrough or, like I'm on the right track now.
Okay, but you did decide you're going to go play chess in Europe over the summer.
See, I'm not, yeah, I'm a very negative person. Even if I have a good result and I win all this money, I'm like, no, this doesn't mean anything to me. Well, before that, I played in the National Open. That was actually also a very good tournament for me. I think I gained like 17 rating points or something. I think my performance was 2450, between 2450 2500. And at some point after American Cup, I was like, okay, I should play another tournament. And Vegas, I've played there many times, and it's a nice tournament. I really like it. It's also close to California where my family is, and I was like, okay, I can combine some trips. Very convenient. And I don't remember if this was before Vegas or after. I had a session with Yuneski Quesada Perez. I've also done some work with him before. I think he's just such a great chess player. So we looked through my games and he was so impressed and he said, wow, your opening prep, which I have to give a lot of credit to Kosu because he was helping me a lot during American Cup. He said, this is like jam level, like your game, like you played so well. And if you keep this, like, this is like jam level. And it's the first time in long time that someone even mentioned, jam level and me in the same sentence. So I thought, okay, like they gave me a lot of confidence too. That made me feel very good that someone as strong as him like looks at my games and thinks so highly of them.
So you booked the trip and you wrote in Chess Life that you weren't even planning on going to Budapest in particular, but you couldn't, was it Dortmund you were going to and you couldn't find another You couldn't find another tournament to make the trip worth the flight and all that?
Yeah, usually I try to play in Spain. I really love Spain. I think a lot of people, a lot
Yeah,
of
it's a
chess
great
players
country,
are a
beautiful
fan of
country.
Spain. It's
Yeah.
just such a great country. It's just so much to offer. So I kind of started planning my trip very late. And so already it was tricky. So there were some tournaments end of July in Spain, but it was too close. I think they would start mid July, and I was starting to plan end of June. So it was just too close. So I was like, okay, I need more time. But again, at some point, I realized, okay, I had two good results. Maybe I should play some more chess. And also, I knew I was going to play US Championship. So I was just looking long term, where do I want to play this year? And like how to plan it alongside with US Championship, because the dates I think were already set. So it's all at this point it's always in October. So I was like, okay, if I play in August, that would actually be good. I was also getting tired of being St. Louis. It was very hot, so I just wanted to get out. Yeah, so I was looking at tournaments and just planning what to do. So Dortmund was actually the dates were really convenient, and I had played there before, and I had a pretty decent result. You have a good result in a tournament, it makes you want to go back. So I thought, okay, Dortmund actually works out, and now what to do? So there are some options after, and there's like too long of a break, or it was just everything was inconvenient. And I also had plans of meeting up a friend in Europe who's doing this big Euro trip. So I was like, okay, I'm going to this tournament, and then I want to play another, and then meet up in Europe. So I was just trying to plan everything together. And making the Hungary tournament also wasn't easy, because I had to fly right after my round, and then the tournament was starting the next day. So I also had to find flights, which was kind of tricky. So I was told, because I was arriving late, so I told the organizer, I was like, okay, I'm arriving late. Can you meet me? And then he said, okay, I'll meet you at the airport. I'll take you to your Airbnb. And I was like, okay, so I don't have to wander around in an unknown city by myself.
Yeah.
So that's when I agreed to play.
That's great. And then, so that's a pretty sharp contrast to what we were discussing in the American Cup in terms of potential preparation. How do you, especially being sort of so scattered from having just played a tournament and having just traveled, like what's your approach to prep in a tournament like that?
For Budapest?
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually there was very little time in between. So there was a list of players before I left for Budapest, so I was kind of preparing. But again, it was I think the week before I left, like I just had so little time again, because when I planned my trip, I was actually going to be gone for 5 or 6 weeks, because I was traveling in Europe, and then I had a 1 week vacation, and then I went to California, and then I was going to stay in California for some time. So I had this long week, and I had to start preparing my Chessable lessons, because we publish 2 lessons a week. So I had to prepare all these lessons in advance, make sure they're all working and everything. And it all started catching up to me. And I was like, okay, I actually have to get this work done before I leave. So I did some light prep, but then the player list also changed. So I just didn't go there super prepared. But I just figured I can prepare when I get there, because most of the rounds were 1 round a day, and I thought, in a tournament like that, you actually have a lot of time to prepare, so it would be okay.
Okay. And I know you're a French player. I remember back in the day, and I think we maybe even talked about this. I remember you did some videos for chess.com on like the English variation against the Najdorf as well. Do you try to spring surprises with your openings or do you mainly stick to your main repertoire?
I think that's one of the things I've actually improved about my chess and my approach to chess. Like, I'm more open to playing new things and learning new things, and I'm not so stuck in, like I am X kind of player and this is what I play. So that's also made chess in some ways more enjoyable to me, because I just try to get excited about playing something new, and I try to change my mindset. I do try to vary my repertoire. I think everyone does nowadays. It's very hard to play one thing, because everyone can just prepare something for one game, right? You look up someone's games, you see they play one thing. It's you have such a huge target on the back. So I think it's very important to vary things up more. And now, yeah, I think if even in Budapest, there are several games. I prepared something specifically for my opponent, and my mindset now when I prepare something new is, I just think, okay, I'm going to play something new, I'm going to learn something, and I just kind of try to detach myself from the result and just get excited about playing something new.
That's good. I mean, I think a lot of people struggle with that because they know that it's good for their chess long term, but in one game, it always feels like it always feels like you're giving something up, by not playing the stuff you know best.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. I think it's difficult to change anything. So also another one of my focuses is always when I just don't know how to approach a tournament or something, it's always like, okay, I'm going to try to manage my time better
Yeah, which we talked
because
about
it's such,
in our 2021 interview.
I mean, it's just such a hard problem and
Yeah.
also feels like an addiction. But, if you make this your focus, then again, you're not thinking about your results or anything. You're just trying to do this. I don't remember who told me this. It was either Yuri Schulman or Kaidanov that, you just go to a tournament and all you want to think about is don't get in time trouble. And always part of me is like, what if I lose all my games? But I mean, like, come on, that's not like you're not gonna
Right.
lose all your games, right? But it's just so hard to like when you have this pattern and this attachment right to the way you play to just completely let it go and be like, okay, I'm just gonna play fast because you just have to trust yourself so much and you just have to break such a huge pattern. And of course, everyone struggles with that.
Yeah, and in our prior interview, you told me that you struggle with time trouble, quote, not only in chess but in life. So it sounds like you've made a little bit of progress in chess. What about in life, Tatyev?
No, no, I don't think so.
Well, you were
But
on
I was
time for
on
this
time for
interview.
our interview.
Yeah, so baby steps. Maybe it's a new you.
I do think like chess is such a reflection of who we are, and I think fundamentally, if we want to change something major in our chess, we have to change something major in ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. So getting to the tournament, so you start off strong, you win your first couple games, but you said you still didn't feel like you at what point did it start to cross your mind like, oh, I could actually get my third IM norm and maybe even reach 2400?
So I actually had all my IM norms from a long time ago, and so I just needed the rating, and
Oh,
I
okay.
always, yeah, yeah, I got my. I don't even know how many norms I have at this point because okay, once you
That
get the
makes
three
it
norms
even
confirmed,
more not to I guess it's okay to say this now since you made it, but that makes the 2397 down to below 2300. That makes it even more agonizing.
yeah, that was a bit of a spiral.
I mean, as we've talked about, it's not, the pool of players has changed. Everyone's rating was going down. But
Yeah,
anyway,
let's go with that. Yeah, so this is contradictory, right? Because part of me just doesn't want to play chess anymore. I'm so hurt and jaded by this game. But there's another part of me that I thought, like I had this like secret goal that I want to like forget that I have all these norms because it was so long ago and I want to get 3 norms and 2400 and just like get my title anew. Crossing 2400, I wasn't even thinking about because I wasn't realizing how many points I'm getting. I think when I was reaching that, someone told me like, "Oh, you can actually cross 2400," and like I actually started thinking about it. But so to score a GM norm in this tournament, I needed okay, the players needed 7 points, and 7 points is just so many. At some point, you lose a game, and then it just basically becomes unattainable. So I was making some draws, and like I'm very steady not losing any games. And I was like, okay, at some point, if I lose one game, that's it, because then I have to score like 3 out of 3 or 4 out of 4, and it just becomes impossible. Yeah, so when at the end, when I had to score 1.5 out of 2, that's when I was like, oh, I'm actually almost there.
amazing. And a friend of the pod and likely someone you have met in St. Louis, Chris Wainscott, wrote in. Thanks for helping to support Perpetual Chess via Patreon, Chris. And he asked, first of all, he said congratulations, and also asked if there was any change in your mindset. And we've talked about that some, so I'm also curious if there was any change. The big game was against Giovanna Rapport. Was there any change in your mindset for that and prior to that?
Yeah, so I mean, I can just tell you about my whole tournament. I think I just feel like everything just lined up for me. Everything just happened right on time, and like nothing really went wrong for me. So I started playing over against the two youngest players. And my first round opponent also was playing in Dortmund, and he had a very bad tournament. So I got him in the first round, which I think was very nice for me because I think he was still in very bad shape. He started doing much better at the end of the tournament. My second round opponent, he lost his first round game, so I think he was pretty shaken against me. I think the timing also worked out for me there. And then I had the 3 GMs, so I got 2 whites against them. So I had 2 rounds a day one day. I was playing 2 GMs. So the first one, I was he's E4, E5 player. I thought most likely he'll play that. So my approach was like, if he plays E4, E5, I'm gonna play 4 knights, try to make a drive. He plays a Sicilian, which he does. I'm gonna checkmate him. This was my preparation. Because my second round opponent, like I looked him up, the second game I was playing black, and I was like, okay, I need some more time to prepare. So if I can kind of make a quick draw or play a safer game, that would be really nice. So I played very calmly, and I mean, it was a very uninteresting game. My second round opponent at some point, he played the London, which I wasn't prepared for, and at some point we're repeating, and then he declines the repetition, and kind of things go wrong for him. So I was very happy that I won that game. And then the third game again, I'm playing a gem. I had like nice preparation. I got a good position, and then I got stuck. Didn't know what to do. We got into this crazy time trouble, like a very back and forth game. I was up 2 pawns, rook knight, 2 pawns versus rook knight, but playing on increment at some point. Okay, he gave up the knight for 2 pawns, ended in a draw. I was so tired, like I wasn't even upset about that game. And then after that, I had the 2 norm seekers. I think they were the ones really fighting for the norms. First game, I was slightly worse, but I got away with it. We made a draw. And second game, I repeated a line against the knight Earth. I just didn't really have any new ideas. So I just thought, okay, I'm just gonna play what I've been playing. Also, me and Kostya had been playing some games in that line, so I thought, okay, like at least I have some recent experience. And my opponent said he wasn't ready for the specific line that I played, and I got a very nice position. I won quite like a quite nice game, really smooth. So at this point, I have 5.5, so I need 1.5 out of 2. So I had black against Joanna, who was having a really terrible tournament. She had lost quite a few games in a row, and then I was gonna play against I don't know how to say her name. I think Zsoka Gal from Hungary, who also needed 1.5 out of 2 to get a norm. So I had black against Joanna, and she plays exchange friends. So I was like, okay, uh, like that game, winning that game would have been, of course, the game that I would want to win because she was the lowest rated player and she was having a bad tournament. But I just didn't want to think of it as a must-win game. And I chatted with Kosti a bit, and he said if I were playing her, I would just play Sicilian. But I wasn't about to just change everything in my preparation or in my approach and suddenly introduce a Sicilian that I don't even play, and then I don't know, who knows what was gonna happen. So I just decided I'm gonna stick with my French, try to keep the game going, and it's not a must-win game because I need 1.5 out of 2. So if this is the draw, then I can try to win with the white pieces the game before, the game after. So before the round, they have this pairing sheet, not a pairing sheet, a cross table, right? And they fill it out, and on the bottom it says GM norm 7 point, I am norm 5.5. So obviously I look at how my opponents are doing, and I realize that my last round opponent also needed 1.5 points. So I was like, you know what? For 5 minutes, I'm gonna let myself have this fantasy that we both will win round 8, and then we play each other, and we both just need a draw, and then
Yeah.
this is how I get 1.5. So when I did beat Joanna, and I was like standing outside texting, and I see Joke as she walks by, and I check, and I see, oh, she also won her game. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe everything is lining up for me.
That's amazing. That's amazing that everything lined up, Tatev. So how did it feel after all you've been through to have this unexpected result and get this title that at times I'm sure you thought you were never going to get?
I mean, I wasn't even thinking about the title because when I went to the tournament, my rating was like 2340. When you enter a tournament with 2340, you don't think you're gonna come out as an IM.
Right.
So I I was just looking for tournaments to play, and I thought this before the norm tournament started, that was gonna be a tough event because okay, you see there's kids playing, all this 16-year-old, 20-year-old, and I was like, oh my god, everyone here is gonna try to beat me. I'm such a target here. So I wasn't really thinking of getting this title at all. So it was actually just really unexpected when I went to the tournament. I wasn't thinking about it, and it didn't really become real until it happened.
But then there's like posts on Reddit about it. Mike Klein did a really nice article on chess.com about it. Did you get like an unusual amount of people contacting you?
Unusual amount? No, I wouldn't say so. I think, well, I have a nice group of people. We're a very support group. That's the word I'm looking for. So those are the people I was talking to during the tournament. Yeah, I saw the Reddit post, and yeah, Mike contacted me, which was really nice because Mike and I are friends. But I also don't frequent on Reddit anymore. It's like one of my things. Like I try not to check this social sites. So there was a lot of attention on me that hasn't been on me for some time, which At first it was nice, but at some point I was like, okay, I'm ready for people to stop talking about me.
Yeah, I thought it would be so crazy that that's why I didn't bug you earlier. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna wait a couple weeks, but obviously I love stories like this. I mean, it's so inspiring because I mean, you say you're not a professional, but to those of us listening, you are a professional. But no matter whether you're a professional or an amateur, there's so many ups and downs. We actually talked about this in our 2021 interview as well, because at the time, Johann Sebastian Christensen had made some comments about the mental health challenges of pursuing chess seriously, and obviously it's really hard, even independent of results. But then when things are going against you, it's even harder. And then, as sort of a cherry on top, as you discussed with Mike, you got to meet Judit Polgar after the tournament. You got to meet up with her, I should say.
Yeah, yeah. Met her several times in St. Louis. She was in St. Louis last year. I think a few times actually. So once we had dinner at Levon's house, and Levon came with her, and I was so excited. She's she's really incredible. It's so interesting to talk to her, and when you talk to her, she always makes you feel like she's really interested in what you have to say. So it's a very nice feeling. So before the tournament, I asked Levon to put me in touch with her. So when I got to Budapest, I messaged her and I said, I'm playing a tournament. It'd be so great if we could meet. In the middle, she was like, okay, I have to let you know. I have some other commitments. And then at some point, I was like, she confirmed that, after the tournament, we could meet. And, that made me so motivated. I'm like, I'm meeting Judit. And
Yeah.
obviously she's going to ask me, how was your tournament? And like, I don't want to say, oh, I didn't play well. And at that point, I was already doing well. So I was like, okay, I have to keep this going because, I want to go to Judit and tell her I had a good tournament.
Yeah, for sure. And did you ever? So did you look at any of the games? Did you go for a meal? What'd you guys do?
No, I just met her in her office, and I think she just had a free hour before she had some meetings, so we just chatted. We had some tea, and I just asked her. She had like something about freestyle, so that's the first thing I asked her, like, how was your experience? So we started chatting, and then talked about this and that.
Amazing. So, having been through what you've been through and then having this surprise performance, do you have any advice you would give to people who feel like they're struggling?
I don't like giving people advice. I think told the same thing to Mike. I think just because I had some great events or some good events, I don't think I'm somehow this great inspirational figure. I like now have this great. I shouldn't say great inspiration figure, but suddenly I have this inspiring quotes or inspiring suggestions and advice to give to people. No, I mean I don't have. I mean it's hard to give advice because you don't know what anyone's situation is. But yeah, chess is very hard and chess is very brutal. I think what I've taken inspiration from is I think I've gotten a lot of inspiration from Levon this year. Because he's also having a lot of good results and he was struggling for a while. And he's just someone who always just really enjoys playing chess. He's always happy to play chess. Even, I don't know, even when he's not playing well, I think he still tries to learn. So that's something that I kind of strive for to, like these days when I'm playing chess, I'm trying to just enjoy it more and kind of try to detach myself from the results. But I also find this kind of things kind of annoying to say because, okay, there's probably been other times where I tried to detach myself from results and outcomes and I had bad events.
Right.
So, it's like when married people tell single people, oh, just focus on yourself. And when you least expect it, love will come. And they're like,
Right.
okay, that's easy for you to say.
Right. Yeah, there's all
So I do find like this kind of thinking also like using this as advice. I think it comes off as really annoying because it's like one of those, right? Just don't think about it, it will come. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what advice to give. I think we have to find ways to try to enjoy chess, try to learn more about it. But I also know that chess can be so brutal.
yeah. Well, maybe that's the best advice is not to let the highs get like when you do have those moments, don't try to celebrate them too highly because you're setting yourself up for when you have the bad tournament, then you're going to have the same degree of devastation. Whereas if you try to keep an even keel, even when things go well, then maybe when things inevitably don't go as well, you won't be so hard on yourself, or whoever won't be so hard on his or herself.
That's my kind of negative thinking. Even when things are going well for you, don't get too happy.
Well, I that was the quote that resonated with me most in Mike Klein's article, where you said, I also haven't forgotten about the painful side of chess, how awful losses and bad tournaments can make you feel. I'm trying to enjoy this moment for now before I think about chasing the next goal. Speaking of the next goal, Tatya, so now we're a couple weeks out from the U.S. Women's Championship. Very strong field. Very strong field. Carissa Yip, Alice Lee, Irina Krush, the aforementioned Anna Zatonskaya, Anna Sargassian, Nazi Pakidze, Atusia, Talia Cervantes, Megan Paragua, Rose Atwell, and Jennifer Yu. So are you going to take the same approach you mentioned before, where you kind of prepare for your early rounds and then figure out the rest as you go?
I actually have to go back to my own quote, when I say I try to enjoy this moment. I'm not very good at enjoying moments or things like that. Like I said, I'm pretty negative. So even when after I got my title, I was just kind of like, why couldn't I do this sooner? Like, why did it take me this long? So for that, I have to give a lot of credit to my friends, because my friends, they really celebrated me. They did a lot of nice things for me. So
That's
I do
great.
appreciate it. But yeah, so I don't know, like I also kind of want to think about what you said, like don't get too happy. It's chess gives you so many tough moments. So nowadays I actually, when I do have a good game or good tournament, I do actually try to allow myself to feel happy, because I do realize this is very temporary.
Yeah. Well, so you never know. I mean, someone like Kostya, obviously, who you study with and work with a lot and are friends with, wrote that he wasn't surprised at all by your result. Your coach, as you mentioned, also said you have a grandmaster level repertoire. So I wouldn't be so sure that this won't continue.
Yeah, so it's interesting because he said he wasn't surprised, because it's not like I went to a tournament and he was like, "Oh yeah, cool, you're gonna get a gym over here." But yeah, I actually really enjoy working with Kostya, because he's very grounding.
Yeah.
He's when I get very negative, like he just always like brings me back down. Like we play, let's say we look at an opening, right, and then we play some games, and then I lose, and I'm like I don't like I was like I don't understand this opening, and he's like, "Well, we're just learning it."
Yeah.
And then he's so positive. He's like, "Wow, I played the second game so much better than the first game. Like I improved so much." And to me, it's like, "Oh, I don't understand this opening. Like I just can't play it at all." Or if we've tried to solve something and I cannot solve it, and I get frustrated. And he's like, "Well, this is like difficult. It's like hard to understand these things, or it's very computer-like. Like it's like hard to calculate." So it just kind of always just brings me down and makes me to be a little more rooted in reality, rather than kind of being so hard on myself.
It's the
Also, I have to say I wouldn't call Yuneski my coach. He's just someone I work with here
okay.
and there.
Yeah, your conversation with Kostya is like the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset in action, it sounds like.
Yeah. I think he does definitely have this mindset. He does try to improve at chess a lot. He does. I think now he has this attitude, right? He has this experience with Ivanchuk,
Oh yeah,
life-changing
amazing.
experience, and now he just wants to learn
Yeah,
all
yeah.
about chess.
So he wrote about that. So amazing post that I linked to in my newsletter that I'll link to in this as well, about what Kostya learned from meeting and analyzing with Ivanchuk. And he was just gushing about how, Ivanchuk's just about the purity of the game and doesn't use an engine. And he sounded so energized to take that approach going forward, and how he looked at chess. As a friend of his who's worked with him a lot since then, do you really feel like you've seen that in how Kostya is approaching chess?
I actually remember when he texted me. It was like I just looked at chess with Ivanchuk
I'm
for 10
BFFs
hours. I
with
was like, what?
Ivanchuk now.
I was like, what is this? And I look at my phone and I have this text. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I think he does. And actually, I have to say that I think this is a very good habit to have when you're looking at a position, and try to solve the position on your own before just immediately clicking the engine. And uh, I think when you're coaching or you're doing it's, like if you're looking at your students' games, or maybe you don't have a lot of time to really dive deep into it or something, maybe you just kind of look at it through the engine or something like that, or your own games, right? But or if you're looking at games online, there's a live tournament, you look at the engine evaluation. But I think it's a good habit to just try to solve everything on your own. I think I think probably all the top players, they have this drive in them to try to solve things on their own without looking at it with the engine for. So in general, I think it's a good habit to have. But yeah, I think when me and Kostya work together, sometimes, if we try to solve something like a position, and then maybe, we discuss a variation or something, then we try to analyze it instead of just immediately going to the engine. But, okay, if you get stuck, then you get the ultimate answer, right? If you're unsure about something. But we do try to do this. But in general, I think Kostya does try to play different openings a lot more than I do. I think he just tries to learn more systems and things like that. And he's very open to looking at openings with me that he doesn't play, and he's probably never gonna play. Like when we look at French positions, right? And it's like I think we were looking at French at some point, and I told him, "Yeah, you can actually just play this too." And he's like, "I don't think I ever want to play this open." Yeah, I think he's very open to learning about chess, and I think he sees it as growing his knowledge about the game.
That's great. Yeah, and of course it comes across in his YouTube videos and Twitch streams and writing. So it sounds like you're not too worried, like you're not too obsessed about prepping for the US Women's Championship.
Focusing on preparing for it. I do want to have a good tournament. I'm going to try to win this year, whatever that's going to mean. I'm going to try not to put too much pressure on myself, not to think too much about winning. Like, obviously, I have a lot of baggage with this tournament. I played so many times, I've come close so many times, tie breaks, like, chasing for first, finishing second. So, it is a tournament with a lot of history, some of it a lot of negative history for me. Of course, I'm going to prepare, but I'm going to try to tune out everything else. I like to delete my socials before tournaments, actually, not to see any other information. So before the past few years, definitely last year, probably year before too, like Carissa was having this 2600 level performances. So I thought, okay, if Carissa's playing at 2600, then she's gonna take it away, right? Because no one else performs at 2600 in this tournament. But I already have one, so I was like, maybe I can do it again. So
Nice.
it feels a little more possible to me.
Excellent. Well, we'll be rooting for you.
Thank you.
And last thing I wanted to talk about, Tatev, was your Chessable course endgame study, Solve to Evolve. So, in our first interview way back in 2017, you talked about growing up in Armenia. Again, were you 12 or 13 when you moved to the States? I couldn't remember.
Like 13 and a half.
Okay, yeah. So, growing up in Armenia, they, of course, famously have like a chess curriculum. You told me like it's not just like chess is a chess is a extracurricular where kids can sort of enrich their understanding of the world. It's treated as like a serious potential vocation or pursuit right from a young age. Were you solving endgame studies as a kid in Armenia?
So I must say things have changed quite a bit in Armenia because now chess is in the schools.
Right.
So it has become part of the curriculum, which I don't know if it has affected how parents see chess because a lot of them assume like their kid is going to learn chess at school, right? So maybe they don't feel as motivated to take their kids to chess. But for the kids who do play more competitively and who do go to the chess academy, to the chess school, and the coaching, and they play tournaments, yeah, I would still agree that a lot of them or the parents want their kids to become chess players. As far as chess studies go, did I solve them as a kid? I want to say yes, but I don't have any particular memories of solving chess studies as a kid. But I would be surprised if I didn't.
So when did you get into them?
I cannot think of like a specific moment. It's just, yeah, I cannot think of a specific moment, but I've just been solving them for such a long time. I mean, there's like, I don't have this, one big moment that someone showed me Kasparian study and that was it. The
Right.
moment of enlightenment. And then from then on, all I do is solve chess studies. Like, I don't have such a recollection.
What about a moment of enlightenment for how to approach them? What advice could you give?
See, again, you're asking me for advice. um, yeah, I love chess studies. I think they're so amazing. The creativity, the beauty. Sometimes I solve a study and just so satisfying, to solve something so beautiful. I think a lot of chess studies are very intimidating because a lot of people just don't know how to approach them. First, you have to understand that it's not a regular study. It's not a regular position. You're not really thinking in like a normal way. So I think solving a few or like seeing some solutions kind of gives you the approach of what exactly you're looking for, right? If you're looking for a checkmate, then it's usually going to be something really beautiful. If it's going to be a draw, then probably going to be some kind of a weird stalemate. So you really have to push yourself to look for extraordinary things in a position. But I think a lot of pawn end games and rook end games in studies can also be practical, but of course, a lot of them also rely on beauty and creativity.
But you think they are helpful for because I've heard some people like Grandmaster Wojciech Miranda, he doesn't like the endgame studies that don't resemble regular positions. But many others, like countless people I've interviewed, have mentioned endgame studies as a huge part of their training regimen. So I'm guessing you do think it helps your OTB game?
Uh, if it helps, yeah, that I wouldn't say for 100% it helps your OTP games, but I think looking at position, like solving chess and looking for creativity, it's probably not the most practical thing you can do, but I think I don't know. I think just like trying to push yourself to look for things, it's also very nice thing to do, a good practice too. Yeah, like I try to look I'm trying to think of some like studies that like of course it will never happen in a real game, right? It's
Right.
like but the king is stuck in a position that like the king would never get there or anything like that. But I don't know, I just like creativity and I like the beauty of it. Yeah, maybe you can do a variety, right? Maybe you're doing some rook and pawn end games that are more practical and then you do a couple of more creative ones just for the sake of it. But I do think when you start doing a lot of studies, then your brain starts thinking weird ways because you're looking for weird things in a position.
Right, but that can be a good thing. I mean, if it widens your perspective and you're looking at moves that you otherwise wouldn't look at, that can be quite helpful.
Yeah, because there are a lot of mind blocks, I think, when you're solving because you have to look for like under promotions or things like that. So I think maybe in that way it can be useful because you're trying to not limit yourself, right, to most obvious move. You're trying to think outside of the box a bit.
Yeah, makes sense. And obviously, you're probably a bit preoccupied with the US Championship as we record this, but do you have any other books or courses or anything planned once you're done with that?
I actually to just circle back to your last point. So, like in my own course, I tried to kind of divide things into practical and into creative. So when I so like it starts off with pawn end games and rook end games, and I have some positions that I consider like must know end games, like king on the sixth rank, or like some rook end games that like you have to know these positions, and then from there I have chapters on checkmate and stalemate which are more on the creative side. And I very clearly say this in my videos, okay, this is more practical. Now we're entering what like studies are actually like. Checkmate, stalemate, domination, which I think domination is probably the most difficult one of the most difficult concepts in studies because it's just such an unusual thing to do in a game, right? You don't really dominate your opponent's queen out of nowhere in a game. Doesn't really happen. So like in my course I do make this distinction. And so I think I try to give people best of the both worlds, it's like something practical and also something creative that they can they can
Great, yeah, and just to define domination, it's when a piece kind of unexpectedly, often in the middle of the board, is totally constricted and often then won.
Yeah, and in my course I also try I feel like I'm advertising my course. Like I also try to break it down as much as possible and to make it accessible because I do think studies just they're so beautiful, they're so enjoyable. Like if you solve something really creative and something beautiful and you do it from start to the end and you see everything, you see all the resources, all the tricks and everything, it's just so satisfying to solve something like that and then see this beautiful position at the end. So like when I start out at level like what I call 16 to 1800, and then we start from like the end of the study, right? You just have to find the end, and then when we get to the higher level it's from the beginning, and hopefully if someone is moving through the course they started from the basics and they can kind of build up on that. So, like, I did try to make it more accessible. And actually, I have to say, just working on this course, it's been like really satisfying the creative process because there are not a lot of things we do, right? It's like long term projects. Let's say you're preparing for a tournament, you prepare specific things you try to play, or like everyday life. I'm preparing my lessons and I'm teaching, and just having like the creative process of, first of all, not consuming and actually creating something,
Right.
and also having this like long-term thing that I started a year before, like working on this and putting it together and then like finalizing the course, annotating everything, and then waiting months, recording, waiting some more time for it to be published. It's like it's been difficult. I complained a lot about it. It was very time consuming. But also satisfying and also doing something that I thought was challenging and new. It also gave me a lot of confidence that I thought, okay, I can actually create something on my own and I can come up with something that people actually enjoy and I can do it on my own and I can do difficult things. So part of like that actually gave me a lot of confidence to that I'm capable of doing difficult things. I actually forgot what your question was.
It was about if you have another,
I don't have anything in the works. I do want to write a book at some point
oh,
because
great.
I've written articles, I've published a course. I feel like having a book will really um, make it so that I've done everything in some sense. I've been thinking about it. I actually want to write a book for like 1000 to 1400 or 1200 to 1600, like those levels. I think there's a lot of gaps there.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of focus on tactics, which of course should be number one because at that level there's still a lot of blunders and a lot of misses. But I think there's like other aspects that are not covered, like what people like to call positional chess
Yeah.
um, what do you call, like realizing the advantage or just practical decisions, things like that. And the term positional chess, I think, is very tricky for a lot of players because, there's so much information out there and people don't know what to consume. So they hear these phrases and that they try to apply to their games, but there's a big mismatch, right? Because you're looking at some GM game, or let's say you're rated 1000 and you're looking at something that's for like 16, 1800. And when you watch something and someone explains it to you, you understand it, right? You can, like, you get what they're saying. So it makes sense to you, but then you have to apply it to your game, and that's the hard part because it doesn't really apply because you're not quite there yet. So I think there's a really big gap there. So I haven't really thought about it too much. I haven't put it together. I don't know if I'll do it, but it is something I would like to do because I also have a lot of students in that range. I have worked with a lot of people in that range. I do like this 1200 to 1600 level. I think it's really interesting level to work with. So if I were to write a book, I think that's what it would be about. And I also must say that my editor for Chess Life told me if I don't turn my articles into a book, he would be disappointed. So
Is that
maybe
John?
I should consider that too.
Is that John?
No, it's John Hartman.
Yeah, John Hartman. Yeah, and to his point, that means some of it's already written, so all the more reason. And your articles are really good in Chess Life.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely recommend listeners check them out. Well, Tatev, last question, I think. So the GM norm, it's got to be like a little bit tantalizing, you know? It's like, oh, now I have a GM norm. So do you think about pursuing the GM title, or is it more one tournament at a time? US Women's Championship is kind of a big deal. Just focus on that.
I don't know. Like, people have asked me. So I talked to a friend recently and I said, like, I don't know if this is something I'm interested in. And the response was like, well, what else do you have going on in life? And I was like, oh, damn. No, it wasn't. Oh, what else are you going to do with your life? I think
Right.
that was the quote. And I was like, oh, wow, I guess I have nothing else to do with my life. I don't know. Like I said, right? I haven't forgotten the pain of chess. But, to pursue GM title, it would just also be so expensive because then I would really have to start thinking about tournaments. I can't just do 1, 2 tournaments and then not play for 3 months. It just doesn't work that way. If you're trying to, I think, realistically go for the GM title, you just constantly have to play because we just improve so much by playing, right? Trying new openings or playing new systems so much through play. So I would have to do that. I think I'd probably have to get a coach, probably have to take a lot of time from some of the things that I do. So there would be a huge financial cost. And I know there's this $100,000
Oh, yeah,
prize
that's
at the
right.
end, right? There's the light at the end of the tunnel, but like you have to get to the end of the tunnel. And it's very scary not to take such a risk of, I don't know, let's say I give up some jobs and then I try to pursue this title, let's say for a year, 6 months, and it doesn't happen. And then come back and wonder if these jobs are still there.
Right.
I don't know. It's a scary thing, and also going from country to country, from hotel to hotel, playing chess and losing games, and it's quite difficult. So I would have to think about it. Maybe if I have a few more good tournaments, maybe if I get to 2450, it can become more realistic. But right now, it just seems so far away. Also, it seems like, I just had like an accidental good tournament. Even though I haven't had any bad tournaments this
Mm.
year, all my tournaments have either been okay or good. I still think this was a accidental result and probably not going to be a repeat.
I disagree. I'm going to defer to Kostya on that one. But and for listeners who weren't aware, the $100,000 prize that Tatev's referring to is the Sinkfelds have offered. If any American woman player earns the Grandmaster title, there's $100,000 just given to them. So, but your points are all very valid about how expensive and time consuming it is. So, we'll be rooting for you either way.
I think more people are openly complaining about the pain of chess. And it's like nice to hear this, right? Because I remember there was an article It was by this Austrian GM. What is his name? Felix something.
Blowburger?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he said he made like $20,000 in a year, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I think in the US that's actually like poverty level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Duda was saying he won the World Cup and then he had no motivation. He didn't want to play chess, and I was like, okay, more people talk
Right.
about this. I think Nepo also said like he envies amateurs because they can actually enjoy the game. They don't have all this baggage. So I
Right.
think a lot more people are complaining about chess.
I think it was always there. It's just now there's more places for it to get picked up, you know.
So they're more open about it.
Well, no, just the voices are amplified. It might have been
Uh,
private conversations before, but now, everyone has their own microphone in a sense, and so if someone says something, you'll hear about it eventually. But someone like Nepo, he's been to the mountaintop, so it's
yeah, he's
yeah.
been complaining for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's the challenges remain no matter what you achieve, but that's why successes like yours need to be celebrated, Tatev. So, congratulations again.
Thank you.
And yeah, looking forward to the US Women's Championship.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, and are you taking students if anyone's interested? Probably after the US Championship?
Yeah, I am. Actually don't have many right now. I still have my other things that I'm doing, but I think after US championships I'll be looking to do that.
Okay, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Oh, good
Do you have like a
question.
Elite Chess Coaches page or?
I do have a lead chess coaches page.
Okay, I will link to that.
Yeah, I tried like
Since
I
we
haven't
know
been
you
on
delete your
Twitter
socials
in
during the
about
tournament, so
no, but I actually haven't been on Twitter I think in like a year. I do check it sometimes when like all these articles came out I became curious, but I every time I go on Twitter I just feel disgusted. So
yeah,
I
I
just
mean they've really
exit.
ruined it. It's unfortunate, but there's more important things in life. All
Are
right,
there?
Tatev. Well, thank you for doing this, and yeah, look forward to your continued successes.
Thank you.
Don't let
I
anyone tell
appreciate
you
it.
different.
No one tells me different. The only person who tells me different is me.
Right, exactly. All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.